Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 322. Luke, I am your father of customer support, recorded on Friday, September 27th, 2024 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Tyler Colt.
And I'm Greg Belnap. Let's get right on into the show.
Let us do it. A uniquely well-fitting title. We've got a couple stories actually in the world of instant messaging. That is the IM there. So very, very clever. Thanks for joining as always, Greg. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Of course, it's good to be back. I think is this back to back. The world is a blur. Time is a flat circle. Yep. I don't pay enough attention to my own schedule. I think I was on last week, right? We talked about a lot of work drive
going
stuff.
Back to back for the record. We are good to go. We do have a busy week this week, so let us jump right on into the news after a quick word from our sponsor, us.
Are you struggling to get your team trained in using Zoho effectively? Considering the hefty costs of team meetings and onboarding sessions dedicated to Zoho training, there has to be an easier way. Say hello to efficiency with our Zoho team training courses. Zoho CRM made easy. Become a project management pro, top-tier customer support, and maximize your marketing impact. Are you ready to equip your team? Start today at zenatta.com/training and let us lead the way.
All right, so let us jump right in. Story of the week and the inspiration for our name. Zoho Desk has rolled out just a ton of updates to their instant messaging platform. This is really a whole barrage of things, including new chat tools that are going to be supported, like Facebook Messenger and Instagram, as well as
and this is all in Zoho Desk, by the way, right?
Yep, all in Zoho Desk. And then a full new business messaging widget. So this is essentially if you had many different chat channels, you can kind of unify all of them behind the scenes. They're supporting multiple WhatsApp business accounts, aka WABAs, which is awesome. I love that acronym.
Yes.
More insight into how you're consuming your WhatsApp credits. Of course, a lot of these messaging tools have some type of crediting system that you'll need to invest in. Updates to guided conversations in terms of your bots. And really the big thing there is that these bots are going to be integrated into your messaging tools, which again, really slick. I like guided conversations a lot. They're kind of like a much more targeted version of a chatbot where, you're kind of guiding in a specific flow. I've also got business hours support, inbox enhancements. We're able to see things much more clearly. More integration opportunities, so webhook APIs. Love to see that. Essentially being able to trigger things when one is received, maybe send one automatically. And then as well, bulk WhatsApp messages to your contacts. Really the case there would be maybe you have a set of customers who all use a certain product and you need to update all of them about something relevant about that product. You may want to send out a mass, IM to all of them. Omni-channel messaging, more kind of integration of messaging into tickets. This is really something where, again, Zoho or Freddie, I know you've got that little card now. Zoho, if you're listening, you need to make this work for SMS. One thing that has been missing for a while in Desk is this idea of I integrate an SMS number, somebody texts it, it makes a ticket, and then I can respond to that ticket via text. The closest way to do it is with Cinch Message Media's integration, but it does require a Zoho flow that you have to build to essentially actually make it work. So that would be really nice. I'd love to see all these updates for the instant messaging tools outside of the US. These are kind of the primary way that you'll see things be done. But selfishly, here within the US, SMS is a whole lot more popular, and I would really appreciate a little bit more progress there over time. Any of these kind of stand out for you, Greg? I know you kind of manage our internal Desk account. We don't use WhatsApp much on our side, but anything you see a lot of value in?
Obviously for me as a dev, I love the webhook edition in here, because you might have, because maybe your team doesn't use Desk a lot, but they do have but you do need something to connect to these instant messaging applications. You could use webhooks like that to send. Say you have a creator app, that you want to get a notification in there whenever somebody sends a DM. You could use the webhook to send that notification to any application, right? So
yeah,
I'm a huge fan of that because just open possibilities always.
It's like a new
good in my mind.
New pathways open there now that wasn't there before. So yeah, overall great updates. Again, I think primarily targeting outside the US. You do see these used, and adding in things like Facebook Messenger, Instagram, like especially if you're the type of business that maybe does a lot of sales through those social media platforms, like direct to consumer products. Being able to handle messaging back and forth within here is really nice. You can do that in tools like social, but it's a lot less structured, right? So if you really wanted to make sure you responded to like every single one that was coming in, Desk is probably going to give you a better platform to manage that.
Especially if you're using it to like handle orders. For example, here's a fun little story. My wedding cake was ordered and everything just through Instagram direct messaging with the cheesecake chef that we picked. So if you're dealing with like orders and things like that, something like Desk would probably be a lot better to manage those kinds of logistic things versus Zoho Social. That's kind of more maybe grabbing inbound leads or just answering like support questions, that kind of thing.
Totally. Next story is just kind of an add-on here. This is an expansion of the previous one, just diving a little bit deeper into bulk WhatsApp messaging. Again, this is really where you are coming in. You're going to pick some subset of customers and then send them out a templated message. We don't have to go too far on the rabbit hole. Really just a couple use cases here. I'd imagine a lot of this stuff around product updates. They show an example here of like, hey, you need to do this cleaning service that's upcoming. I wouldn't think you'd go through and like pick random people for that, but maybe you're creating custom views or lists that highlight like some type of last X date, and then you want to select into there. But so overall, really nice. I'd imagine that people will be using this primarily outside the US. You can send up to 50 people at a time, and you do need to send them via some type of template, right? So you're going to create a template, send it out to everybody. It's not like an ad hoc message when you're doing it this way.
Yep.
All right. Next update, still in the world of Desk. Busy week for them. This is pinning an important comment, an important thread inside of a ticket. This sounds minor, but there's actually a big use case where it's really valuable. So what this means is inside of a ticket, you have that ability to essentially have a thread, which is generally going to be a communication back and forth inside or with the client. As well as like internal comments and notifications. Like maybe a ticket comes in, it's above my pay grade. I tap in Greg to say like, hey, could you, let me know what the proper answer is here. And then maybe I'll respond back once he lets me know. Being able to pin an item is essentially saying we're going to keep this top of mind throughout the entirety of this ticket. One of the big use cases here is for customer specific information. So let's say you have a certain client and something is odd about that client, right? Maybe instead of using QuickBooks Online, like 99% of your clients, they use QuickBooks Desktop, right? Or maybe they're the one client using marketing automation instead of campaigns. So you might want to set specific items or information as kind of default for that client. And something like this would allow you to write a script where when that ticket gets created, you pin that info so everyone keeps it top of mind throughout the entirety of the conversation. You can also use it on the fly. If something is specific for that ticket, you can pin that. But really nice to see. This is a feature that you don't see it asked for all the time, but when someone needs it, it's the only way to do it. So it's great to see it get added here for Zoho Desk.
Yeah, it's especially if you, because a lot of times in those support threads, you'll have that question early on, right? Of, could you please provide, like these screenshots or a description of the problem that's occurring. you'd probably want to keep that pinned to the top because it's like that fundamental information about the resolution, about the problem, so that you can resolve it if you have to come back to it, and you don't have to go searching through all the threads.
Yeah, especially useful for businesses where tickets go on a little bit longer, right? If this is just like a quick Q&A, how do I reset my password? Here's your instructions. Less valuable. But for people doing long-term support on like machinery, goods like that there could be a lot of back and forth, lots of images, like you're saying. Being able to just pin those and make sure they're top of mind is very useful, rather than hunting and pecking in the various different threads and communications that can all go into one ticket. All right, next one here is from the world of FSM. This is a pretty slick one. So they have added what they are calling job sheets. What a job sheet is in FSM is essentially a form that is designed to be used as a checklist for particular services. You can see that Zoho bolded out a couple words here if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yep.
I would say they should also have bolded services, because that's a really key part of this. Because what you're going to do is essentially imagine that you have these various services. Their examples are HVAC preventative maintenance, pool cleaning, low water pressure repair, right? These kind of standard things that you may be doing. And each one of those requires a different checklist to confirm that it's been done properly. So really what you're doing is you're creating a job sheet for a particular service that you're going to be providing for somebody. So like in the world of Zenatta, maybe this would be like a CRM migration job sheet, right? And we're going to make sure we imported leads, contacts, accounts, deals, and activities, right? Versus if we're doing a Zoho Books migration, that's going to require a completely different checklist to go through and ensure that it's done. So again, just that big part, and they do call it out here, you are associating this to a particular service, also known as a product or item, if you're looking at it from the CRM or books perspective. And then these will show up on the mobile app and give you that opportunity to just easily fill them out on site as you're actually completing that service. So really nice. Again, you could have done this with like a custom module. I believe you could add custom modules to FSM, but it wouldn't have been so cleanly baked in, right? Where when you actually go to open up that work order, you can really easily start this for each of the services that are included.
Yeah, well, and especially that it's, built with the mobile app in mind, right? Because that's where pretty much all of your techs are going to be filling this out. Nobody's going to a desktop to fill out their job info. Everybody's doing it either on a phone or an iPad, something like that. And so being able to, build this in a way that it's going to show up well on the mobile app is really, really essential for your service techs to not get bogged down in the paperwork, so that they can get to just doing their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Nice thing too is I'd imagine you'll be able to like send emails based on this data, merge it into your template, right? Some of these, right, that are like open text, right? So if you're looking at like the pool cleaning, maybe you have a chlorine, a pH reading, those types of things you might want to summarize for someone at the end of that service appointment. So really useful. I'd imagine lots of people are requesting this. And as always, when Zoho rolls out a new app, it's always going to roll out a little bit lightweight and then get quickly updated based on all the feedback that they get from users who are trying it out. So getting better and better and closer to that final ideal solution for field service management. All right, couple kind of minor ones here on the back half of our news. In Zoho projects for a long time now, you've been able to rename what they call either bugs or issues based on when you turned on the application. Now, essentially, you will be able to do that for tasks, right? So they give the example, you could rename them items, jobs, to-dos, really whatever you'd like. And this is a good idea. People use different terminology in different industries. So like they gave the example here, a lot of software development companies call them work items instead of tasks. Obviously, this all just comes down to preference. I've never thought it's a huge deal because they're essentially synonyms. But now you'll be able to rename them to a set of options. It does look like, and tell me if I'm crazy here, Greg. It looks like it's a set, so it's not totally custom actually. As I look closer, it's tasks, items, jobs, or to-do.
It is still custom. I thought the same thing when I was looking at this news story. So I went into one of our demo accounts to check it out. And basically that drop down there that you're seeing are the different options of icons that you can select from. And then these icons have a default name like task, item, to do, whatever. But then once you select that icon, you can manually change the actual name for it. So nice. So tasks only has like those 4 options. The bugs module has like 20. They also have a lot of common name changes for like milestones as well, like phases or journeys or sprints, that kind of thing. So so once you select your icon, then you can rename it to whatever you want.
Got it. Okay, very nice. Great update there. Again, just the more customization, the better. Is one of those things that people always appreciate in Zoho CRM. You talk to a lawyer and they're like, well, we want to call deals intakes. It's like, yeah, no problem. You talk to a field service management company, they want to call them jobs. Yep, no problem. Just being able to rename things into the actual language that the user is going to use makes the training and onboarding a whole lot easier. So nice job, projects team. I'm sure this will make some people very happy.
Absolutely.
Next little minor one here in the world of Creator. This is essentially Zoho announcing they're doing some work to improve creators' email deliverability. Deliverability, of course, is just the likelihood that an email you send is going to land in the inbox. There have been a lot of changes introduced primarily by Google. Yahoo always gets grandfathered in. People always say Google and Yahoo. It's Google, right? Like most people are not using Yahoo anymore. Google is kind of setting this standard. Really what this is you got to stop using public domains, right? Like you can't be authenticating tyler@gmail.com and using that to send out. It's just going to land in spam. Really has nothing to do with Zoho. These are just policies that are being set up by the email recipients. So the Googles, the Microsofts. They're also going to get a lot tighter about authenticating domains, right? So if you've added your, Tyler example at Zenatta.com as an email address, and I haven't actually done the DKIM and SPF, it's going to yell at you and replace it with their system defined ones. So, notifications at Zoho Creator, or things like that. Really, the reason that these things are important is that on Zoho's backend, they have certain mail servers. And if somebody is behaving badly while using their mail servers, it can affect deliverability for other users, right? So this is one of those collective annoyance for collective good type situations where you just have to get this stuff done. While you're doing this, I highly recommend setting demarkup. We've got a blog on our website about it because it's not super obvious how to configure that. But one of those things that, again, Google, Microsoft, they're going to be looking more closely at to make sure that you are a valid sender.
Yeah. And it's, I get it, on a level of, you're just starting out, you're supposed to be like, well, okay, especially if we just talked earlier about people that are just managing their business from their Instagram account. It's like, well, I just signed up for Instagram with my Gmail, and like now I gotta actually like go to GoDaddy or someone and buy it, and I gotta buy a domain, and now I gotta get it's like, well, yeah, kind of. That's just kind of the world that it is now. And it's fortunately, because almost everybody has to do this, it's not nearly as cost prohibitive as it used to be, but it goes a long way to get that custom domain hosting, and then your credibility just goes way up. So
it's a good investment of the $1 a year for the domain and the $5 a month for a Gmail business account. So it's worth it.
Very much.
It's worth it. So this is something, again, we've done updates around this on CRM already, where they've already started rolling this out. I think campaigns potentially has always been this way. I don't think you ever could really send with a personal through there, but just keep in mind this is going to roll out really for Zoho apps and non-Zoho apps. I bet you out there somewhere, a Salesforce partner with the podcast is going over a very similar update because a lot of this stuff is really on the Google side, right? They're not going to receive it. You can send it, but they're not going to get it. So Zoho is just trying to get ahead of that curve.
Yep,
all right. Last news story here. This is an interesting one. This has actually been requested for quite a while, coming from Zoho Campaigns. Again, one of those interesting ones because we don't see this update for marketing automation. I would assume it will be there too, but who knows? This is essentially filtering out bot engagement with emails that you have sent out. So essentially what these little bots do is they're looking for viruses, malicious links, things like that in your emails. And what happens is it can show as a click on the campaign side. And so I have actually seen this in a client account where, let's say we're running some scoring and they're going to get 10 points for every email that they click. We send out one email and I saw one where they got 760 points like that the second that it hit their inbox, because a bot just clicked every different thing it could possibly find in that email. Obviously, no human clicked that 76 times immediately. So we were able to infer, hey, that's probably a bot. We went into the reporting. We started filtering out people with really weird click behavior. But this is a bit better because what this will do is essentially look for that type of behavior and filter it out right away. Just so that you get that real data, because you'll see that where, 60% of people clicked something, but half of them clicked it more than 50 times in 1 minute. So that's not real. We can't actually say this was a successful email. So be able to go in, essentially turn this on, and it will read through and ensure that the things it's reporting back are actually real when they are tracking that type of engagement. The one thing I didn't see here is if it gives you kind of like a breakdown of like the clicks with and without bots. It seems like it's just going to get rid of them out of your metrics completely. Is that kind of how you read this as well?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like, what do I care about bot clicks? Do I really even, need to see that number? It doesn't, mean anything. I guess unless, I don't know, if the only thing that I can think that where it would be useful would be, I don't know if you want to use that as like data for determining like, do emails that get clicked by bots do better or worse? If that's not just like your content, but no. My favorite part of this particular announcement is down for those of us on YouTube. Go back to that notes, that yellow notes block there. The first thing that says is open rates may decrease when the bot filter is enabled. It's like, that's the point. That's the thing that you told us. Yeah, you told us that at the beginning. Like, they're preempting anybody who says, "Hey, my campaigns aren't doing as well ever since I turned on bot filtering because all my opens went down." It's like, well, yeah, because those weren't really opens.
That was the plan.
No, but in seriousness, the second point on that little note thing that I think is very useful for this is that if you turn on the bot filtering, then any follow-up actions that you've set up to say like, oh, when somebody clicks on this email, I want this action to take place. Like I want, a lead created in the CRM, or I want them to get sent this second follow-up email. Bot actions were triggering those previously, but if you enable the bot filtering, those follow-up actions won't trigger, which is really good, because otherwise, if you have a campaign set up to, send a follow-up email when somebody clicks on something, then they're just going to get flooded with all of your emails at once because the bots keep clicking them and moving them down the drip pipeline when you don't want them to. And someone's like, I don't understand. Why are they saying we're so glad to have heard from you? I didn't talk to you.
One last little note is that Apple has its own mail privacy protection. This solution that Zoho has is not going to work for that right now. And they're going to continue working to get that added to the flow. Good news is, I think if you are, especially people that are B2B, that's the vast minority of people that are using Apple Mail for any type of business use case. B2C might be a little bit more common, but just keep in mind, it will not be working for them. Again, I think that's a minority though. So I'm happy they didn't hold off releasing this until they're done. with the Apple side, because I think for most cases, we're going to be looking primarily at Google and Microsoft. But nice job, campaigns team. That eternal question, is this in marketing automation? Who knows? Find out next week on the CRM Zen Show. With that, let's get right on into our implementation of the week. All right. Love doing that segue for myself. I always get a laugh out of that. This week, implementation comes from Colton and Eddie on the Zenatta team. There's a CRM and CompanyCam integration. I think we may have talked about this, was similar integration a long time ago, but I did want to circle back because we have found more and more use case for this. CompanyCam is just a really great tool that allows your team via their mobile device to very easily open up a folder for a particular project, take images on site, and then annotate and organize them really easily. It's one of those tools where, yes, hypothetically, could create like a creator form, a CRM module. You could use a file upload or an image gallery field. They could take the pictures through there. They could put that picture on a different app, annotate it, upload it back, and then, you could get a similar outcome. Difference is this tool just works very easily. It takes about 5 minutes of training to show someone this thing, and then they're just up and running. So rather than recreating it, a lot of the times we do just choose to integrate it. In this case, what we did is when a deal hits a particular stage, we go ahead and create a folder and project inside a CompanyCam. Then we just grab the link to that folder and bring it back into the deal and attach it so that it's always easy to get back and forth between the two, sections of data. Again, just to avoid that case of, a client paying us money to build something custom that is a kind of worse recreation of something that they have. Sometimes you might be paying a lot of money for this tool and it does all this fancy stuff and maybe you don't need it, right? You go, you know what? I'd rather just do a little bit of custom development now, not to pay for this thing in the long term. But in this case, it's just not really possible to recreate the ease of use that comes with this tool. So we decided to keep it in place and just integrate it directly into CRM. I will also highlight in this case, they needed a really unique and kind of custom structure for this integration. There are actually some marketplace apps, one built by, I think, the Clientric team up in Canada that are really good, that are worth trying out first, and then maybe consider building custom if those don't satisfy your requirements. But just always keep in mind that, I like to highlight this because you don't need to move every single thing over to Zoho. Like, you don't want to use a worse version of something to save, that $10 a month per user, right? Like, you need to factor in the labor cost and time savings of the better option. And I bet you it saves you more than $10 a month in labor, right? Sometimes using the right tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just some good practices to take away from this. Like, even if you're like, well, I don't care about CompanyCam. Why should I care about this implementation? Focusing on the, we're in the CRM, we're going to send something to our third party, and then we want to grab something from that third party and write it back to our CRM record so that we can keep those things linked and referenced together. So whether it's CompanyCam or any other third party, it's always a good idea to have like a field for some kind of third party ID or link or something like that you can write to, so that way when you need to do reporting down the line, it's way easier to match those records up later rather than having to, match on if the name and the amount and the date are close enough together, then we should say that those records match if you ever need to go and link them later. Always good to have those IDs handy.
Build with the future in mind, right? Because you're probably going to come back to this integration and want to tweak it, adjust it, and improve it. So leaving yourself that breadcrumb trail, right? It's kind of how I think about it, is just a really good habit. All right. And with that, I think we're ready to jump on over to Club Zenatta and check out our code share of the week. All right. So what do we have here? We have a code share, understanding the Deluge code for Project Archival. This one written up by Renato. Greg, we want to take us through kind of what we're looking at here for our code share?
Yeah, this one's similar to a code share that we actually had from Renato last week that uses some analytics tables. This is going through how to export that data from analytics. We're looking at a query table that contains a list of completed projects that we want to just archive them in projects automatically over time so that, there's just less stuff to sift through. Or if a project's been left like inactive for a certain amount of time, that sort of thing. So steps 1 through 5 on this are just all about that export job. If that's not important to you and you're just like, well, I just want to know how to archive a project via API, you can jump down to step 6, where they show you how to set up that API call for, you just need to pass in a status parameter saying that it's archived. But what's really nice about this is that, it lets you know like all the different IDs that you're going to need for updating that project. Because I got to admit, the Zoho Projects API is probably the more
unfriendly.
Yeah, unfriendly to work with. I think it's also the old, like the documentation also is, I think, a lot older than like the CRM or finance suite APIs. Have been updated, a lot more over the years. Projects a little bit less.
Parameter names too that don't really make sense. Like when you look at the project and you see the status field for the project, which is like you can add whatever options you want to, you might think, okay, well, that would be what I would update. No, in the API documents, that's called custom status. And status is just active and archived. It's a backend parameter that doesn't get a name applied on the front end. So yeah, a couple of those little oddities here when you're working with the project's API that you do need to read between the lines, right? And kind of figure things out as you go.
Yeah. And, one thing I'll say is what the project's API documentation might lack in some stuff, at least the support team has been helpful of always letting us know, we've said like, hey, we're pretty sure there's an API call for X, Y, or Z. Is that what it is? And then the support team will get back to us with, oh yeah, this is the API call that you make. Now, I would argue it'd be a lot easier that whenever somebody asks you about an API and you send them a response, you should probably go and add it so that you don't have to do it for everybody.
Right? It would save you from answering that question later.
Exactly. But I won't tell them how to do their jobs, though I wish I could. But thank you to Renato.
Yeah, big shout out to Renato. This is definitely a good habit. You should be in the habit of archiving projects that you're not using anymore. Really, to be totally honest, it's only ever going to be a problem for you if you run a lot of projects through here. But you can actually see a notable increase in load speed and the speed of really everything that you're doing if you keep your active projects list a lot cleaner. There are some implications if you're using a bunch of projects in Zoho Analytics. There is a little checkbox that says keep my archived ones over here. So for one of my clients, they have like long-term dashboards for all their project work for their clients. They've got to have that box turned on because we're auto-archiving things the second that we're done. So if we weren't syncing them over there, it would look like we never finished anything for them. So just important to keep in mind, there are some downstream implications of archiving, but you should do it. Because you want to keep that list clean. It really does have a meaningful impact on the load speed of the platform as a whole. All right, next up, we will jump over to Zenatta.com and check out what's new over there. All right, so this article here is about Zoho integrations, everything you need to know. Wayne has done essentially a write-up here of a couple different methods of integrating into Zoho. So really looking at like, hey, they've got a bunch of standard integrations between their tools and other tools via the marketplace. You also have your custom API integrations if you are, tech savvy and want to write some code. Got things like Zoho Flow and Zapier across the board. You do want to keep in mind different integration pathways might be more or less secure. right? So like doing a direct OAuth integration is more secure than like spinning up a webhook endpoint in Flow and having someone just send data to it. Again, your odds of a problem are low in either scenario, but if you want the lowest, you might need to do things in certain ways. And then kind of a quick FAQ here at the bottom of, hey, I've got a problem. What might be going wrong? A couple things you can check out to see if you can fix it on your side. Yeah, big shout out to Wayne. Nice write-up here. Again, we always do love seeing if we can get things done with a default integration. When we can find that magic tool from the marketplace, it does make life a lot easier, right? Kind of like I was mentioning earlier, CompanyCam has a really good one for CRM. It didn't work for this specific use case, but a lot of the times it does, and then you're not having to pay for custom development. So well worth taking a look at as you are building out your Zoho install. And last but not least, I believe we do have a new video over on YouTube for our tip of the week. All right, configuring skill-based ticket assignments in Zoho Desk. This, Greg, is actually an excerpt from our training program, isn't it, for Zoho Desk?
It is indeed. So we've been adding in some lessons to our team training course on Zoho Desk for a couple of features that we didn't really have any stuff on previously. One of those being skills-based ticket assignment, right? So you can configure rules so that if tickets with certain kinds of parameters come in, that you can. So, like, let's say that. There's language detection, for example, that you can figure out that if a ticket is in a certain language, you can automatically pull or set up a round robin rule for any of my Spanish speaking agents can automatically get that ticket. Or you can set up like keyword checks of like, okay, if the subject contains this product name, then anybody on my team that specializes in that product, the ticket should go to them versus, somebody in another department. So this is a free lesson for you. First one's always free, and then get them coming back for the whole course.
There we go.
But this is we just thought you guys would find this one particularly helpful.
Absolutely. Great video there. We find a lot of value in these. Like, it does actually do a decent job for things like language and certain, like, if skills are pretty different from one another, it's tough sometimes if it's like JavaScript and Python skills, but something like German versus English or HVAC versus electrical, right? It's going to do a pretty good job at figuring those out. And then being able to automatically assign things is super, super useful. So definitely check that one out if you are using Zoho Desk. And again, as always, over on youtube.com/Zenatta is where we have all of our content, whether it's the CRM Zen shows, full product tutorials, quick tip videos, and best practices. So if you are a fellow Zoho nerd looking to do some of your build out on your own, be sure to head over there, click on that subscribe button. If you're crazy, click on that bell and you'll get a notification whenever we put out a new video for you. We'd love to have you in the community. But with that, I think we are wrapped up for today. Thanks again, as always, for joining, Greg. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Happy to be here. And proud of myself that we were able to get through such a large news segment without me making us take an extra 45 minutes. I know that I've been a chatty Cathy in the past.
The listeners definitely thank you. So with that, I guess we will go ahead and wrap up for the week. If you want to get in touch with myself, Brett, Josh, Greg, anyone on the Zenatta team, just head over to zenatta.com and click on book a meeting. On the website is where you'll also find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. If you want that news delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to also subscribe to our newsletter.
And head over to club.zenatta.com to join our online community where we have all the code shares that we talk about, as well as just lots of other Zoho users answering each other's questions. It's a great time. And as we mentioned, if you're looking to train your team in less than a week on the core Zoho apps, including Desk, which we have recently updated. Head on over to zenatta.com/training to get your team up to speed.
Last but not least, we always appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
The CRM Zen Show was produced by Podcaster Zen.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Look at that bad boy.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Yep.